Wait, you have a TV?
No. I just like to read the TV guide. Read the TV guide. You don't need a TV. Television addict! Television addict! Television addict!
Hello, everybody. How are you? I hope you're doing well. I hope you are recovered from 4th of July festivities. Every year I complain about my neighbors. There are neighbors that I like. They're not my direct neighbors. So if my direct neighbors are listening, I like you. People in the neighborhood generally that continue to light off fireworks well into September after 4th of July. So hopefully that doesn't happen where you live. But hey, if it is, I don't really know what you could do about it, but just know that I commiserate with you, and it's annoying for me to have to deal with. And I don't hear any now because it's sort of midday. Usually they at least wait until it's dark out to blow things up because they can pretend that they see things look beautiful and colorful when really I just think they like making things go explode. But that's just me. You know, they make it blow up real good. Anyway, I'm going to ignore all that because I'm very excited about today's episode of TV Guidance Counselor. My guest is comedian Jen Kirkman. Now, Jen, you absolutely know she is a fantastic stand-up comedian, a local talent done good here from the Boston area, but she has a fantastic podcast called I Seem Fun, the Diary of Jen Kirkman podcast. Great special that just came out on Netflix a few months ago. Not just came out, but it was recent, which if you haven't seen, you absolutely need to see. And I have had the pleasure of getting to work with her a number of times here in Boston. I always love watching her work. She's incredibly funny. And she was, again, one of the first people that I really wanted to have on the show when I started this show 3.5-ish, 4-ish years ago. And she's incredibly busy. And I was very, very happy to finally be able to grab some of her time and get her to guest on the show. And it was well worth the wait. She's fantastic. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy today's episode of TV Guidance Counselor with my guest, Jen Kirkman.
TV is my friend, and it has been always there for me in time of need.
Jen Kirkman, how are you?
I'm fantastic now that I've seen. I mean, people have to know the spread you have of TV guides.
And this was just the West Coast collection.
Yeah, right. Because you're
We're still trapped in Boston,
It's I'm just happy that I was just around them.
We charge nothing to visit the museum. It's free for all the public, and because I believe in the arts.
Thank you. It's a dying thing.
It truly is, like everything. So you ended up picking an issue here. You were torn between two issues,
yes,
which I think may be a TV movie that showed that week. But
that's my Lifetime movie, torn between two issues,
ripped from the headlines. I always wanted there to be a TV movie called Ripped from the Headlines that was about like an editor.
There hasn't been?
No, they all claimed to be, but nothing was actually named.
You should write yourself a letter. Right. Do not, no one steal that idea. That's a great idea.
It's just about like, I don't know, newspaper people who have every bad thing possible happen to them.
This is a complete Lifetime or Hallmark movie. Yeah. Not Christmas, but for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think
I love it.
We can make it happen. I just made so much
like
money.
A woman investigating a murder about like a husband that murders a wife and her husband murders her and it's ripped from the headlines.
And he has a secret family and then someone gets adopted and there's maybe like my who I thought was my aunt's really my mother, like everything possible.
Every trope,
someone gets AIDS. We'll set it in 88.
Yeah, because I was like, if they get it now, people are like, well, there's meds.
I don't care anymore. But it could be set in 88.
Yeah.
Or that could be part of the plot. That the reason the woman, here I got it. Woman pretends to be the girl's aunt because her real mother died of AIDS in the 80s because she had to keep it a secret.
Right, because back then it was very shameful.
It was very shameful.
It was a blood transfusion gone wrong.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, she was hemophiliac. Everybody, we just made $10 million on this. Yeah. We're so rich. So you ended up going, though, with you forewent the day after because you said one of the best things I've ever heard anyone say. I talk about that already too much.
Yeah, the movie the day after, the made-for-TV movie about nuclear war. Yeah, I had like a one-woman show that I just like toured with and I talk about it on like an album and a podcast. It's like people have heard it.
Yeah,
but I'm going to take that issue home with me.
Yes, and enjoy it.
That's what was meant to be today. Is that I just own that, but I don't need to discuss it anymore.
I sometimes describe that movie to people as if Red Dawn wasn't for assholes.
Wait, Red Dawn was for assholes? I guess I saw it shouldn't have seen it when I saw it, but that was the first PG-13 movie.
Yeah. Rightfully so.
I saw it on TV at my friend's house, but I don't really remember much. I just know I was like, wow, it's PG-13.
Well, there's a horrific joke in that movie that still like sends shudders up my spine when I heard today, because they imply that Leah Thompson has been violated by the Russians.
Right.
And I think it's Charlie Sheen goes, "What got up your ass?" And then she freaks out, and then whoever the friend is like, "That was the wrong thing to say." And then that goes on. I'm like, what? Like, I would think I was 15 or something. I rewatched it. I was like, oh my God.
Because something actually went up her ass in violation.
Not a line that should be in that movie. I saw that movie in a movie theater in Saugus, Mass. And at the beginning, when the commies come down in the parachutes and kill everyone at the school, I was terrified because I'm little. And I was like, oh, this is really scary. And my dad goes, oh, yeah, I mean, that could happen.
Like, we have the same dad.
Yeah, I was like, thank you.
That's what I was, when I was watching The Day After, I was like, could this really happen? And my parents were like, yeah, that's why we're watching it. This is like a to-do. This is like what we should do if, and I'm like, well, there's no one's doing anything.
Just
They're
die?
just
That's how we
hiding.
do anything?
They're hiding
Yeah.
in the basement, which doesn't work.
How is that helpful to us for them? Like,
They just wanted me to know, no
Yeah.
surprises.
Yeah.
No surprises. And it, affected the rest of my life.
right. Because
No
when
big
there's an A-bomb drop, you go, I knew it. That's what they want. Yeah.
Yes. And I have a bit in my act about it, which is that's how I was on 9/11, to be
Yeah.
honest. I was the only one not surprised that something like that could happen. So I was like, oh, my parents told me about this
Yeah,
stuff.
I expected this. So on Saturday night here, we ended up going with April 17th through the 23rd, 1982. We have a wonderful Happy Days cover.
Oh, what a great year. I think I was 8.
Yep. I said yep like I knew.
Yeah, yes, you were.
82. Yep. Checks out. I saw she brought a birth certificate like a request. All guests
So I
do.
was second grade because I was about to turn 8 in August.
Yeah.
Okay, so perfect. Second grade.
Which is prime cultural capital time for TV.
Yes.
You have nothing else to talk with other 8-year-olds about.
No, I
other
have
than
nothing else to
television.
do. It can't go anywhere.
Yeah. But you're old enough to have your own taste, so you can probably have shows that you're like, I want to watch this.
Yep.
And were any of your sisters living in the house with you at the time? Or were you like the only kid there?
Just about to become an only child. My sister was probably leaving for college a month later, and my other sister was already out of college and married. So
you had full reign of the TV, I imagine.
yeah, and we had 2 TVs, but I always had full reign in the TV. My sisters, when they were home, did not want to hang out with the family. So
Right.
always in control.
So you had 2. Were you a family that had like a good TV and then the TV that someone else would be? Because our friends would always fight over, I get the good TV.
We had like the lesser TV in the den, which I think my parents still have. My parents still don't have flat screen. They still have the big thing in the back. But not like if you were rich in my neighborhood, you had a small one in the kitchen.
Yep.
And then you had one in your bedroom if you were not necessarily rich, but spoiled.
Yeah.
But I didn't have one in my bedroom.
I got one later that I bought. My sister got sick and it was this whole thing where we were declaring bankruptcy. And my mother was like, hey, we're declaring bankruptcy. Let's go buy a bunch of stuff.
And you're like, oh.
Yeah. And I felt
That
bad about
seems
it. Yeah.
like
I wouldn't.
the opposite of what
Like,
you
we
do.
shouldn't do that. So I didn't buy anything, but then I later bought my own TV.
You didn't buy anything.
I was like, no, I won't do it. So I saved up and bought my own and like made a note to tell them like, I paid for this myself. But we had a bus station TV in our kitchen, which were those little black and white ones. They looked like a boombox.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like a little teeny Game Boy size screen.
Yes, I thought those were very cool.
I don't know where my dad got it or why, but
Yeah.
we had one of those in the kitchen. So you could kind of watch stuff in there, but it was not really that viewable. It was
Right.
very
It's
small.
just to like keep your eye on things.
Yeah.
To keep the news on.
Because some people, I don't know if people did this in your town, the TV stations would also broadcast on the radio. Do you remember that?
I don't remember.
So some of them would broadcast just the audio on like a radio station. And
That sounds vaguely familiar, but I really don't remember.
old people would always just like listen to the show.
I remember taping an episode of Moonlighting off of the TV on a cassette
Audio cassette.
and
yeah.
listening to it in my Walkman at school because I was so obsessed with the show.
Yeah.
But that's a different thing about
As
just
well
being
you
a
should
loser.
be.
Yeah.
No, I think that's pretty cool. Have you been to the Eastern Standard Building downtown, that like Art Deco building that the first episode of Moonlighting when they're on that building in the pilot?
What?
That's
no,
the building.
you have done all this cool
I
stuff
know,
that you
we-
told me about that I don't
yeah.
know about because again I live
Well,
here.
you're
and I
busy
ignore
and
everything.
working.
I don't. No, I'm not even busy. I just I don't think about the tourist
I guess-
aspect of LA.
And I don't do that in Boston, but for some reason when we come here, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I got to go to, like we went to Punky
But
Brewster's
when
house
they were
the other day.
hanging off the building, I know exactly what you're talking about. I didn't realize it was the pilot either.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's so cool. I do know the building you're talking about.
Yeah, it's that beautiful Art Deco
Yeah.
blue building. Yeah, it's right there. And that's like, there's the Moonlighting building. And
Oh,
it's
that's
really
so
weird.
cool.
Yesterday, we drove to the apartment building from Punky Brewster. That's in the opening credits.
Where's that?
It's on First Street, kind of in Koreatown.
God, everything's downtown.
Yeah, it's in a not great area.
Yeah.
We when we were taking some photos, we were a little bit like, I'm glad it's in the day.
Do you know I shouldn't tell anyone, but I do live in the neighborhood of the Brady Bunch house.
Oh yeah, the lady who we went there last time we were out, and whenever I go to these things, I always try not to be, in their yard or whatever.
Yeah.
I'll be like across the street and take a pic, totally respectful. But I'm getting out of the car, and the old lady that lives there gets out and is like, "Ah!" And so we're leaving, and we're like, "Come on, lady, you got the Brady Bunch house. Get used to it."
Yeah.
And I posted something about it. My friends were like, sent me an article that they had just been robbed.
Yeah, she did. She got robbed a couple months ago.
So I was like, oh, now I get why she was like, get away from my house.
She woke up, I think, and it was unrelated to it being the Brady Bunch house.
Yeah.
She woke up and someone was in the house, which is terrifying.
That is 100% terrifying. They weren't there like, we want Johnny Bravo's shirt. They
No,
were
I think
more
it was just like, here's a house.
yeah, but I didn't know. And then I felt bad after. But,
That's all right. Don't listen. What if that was Alice? She still lives
that's true.
there.
She might. She's just been.
The family left.
She's under house arrest there for crimes
She lived
against
in
humanity.
In the wherever she had a bed next to the washing machine.
Did they ever show her room? She would always go in that door, but we never saw.
It was where the washing machine was.
Yeah.
And she had she had like a shit room off,
Yeah.
seriously in the laundry room. She lived in the laundry room.
That is very weird. Like
Yeah.
as a motivation for her to get her work done. If you want a nice place to live, you'll get all our crap cleaned.
Poor Alice.
I know. It's rough for her. I had Robbie Rist on the show, who's cousin Oliver.
What's he doing?
He does music now. He did the music for Sharknado.
Oh, good. Okay, so
Yeah.
he's working.
Oh, yeah, he's doing well. And he does
He's
a little
happy.
voiceover. He was one of the Ninja Turtles. And
Oh, all right. So we're not going to worry about him.
yeah, he's good. But he was just saying, he reminded me that he was only in 3 episodes.
Good. I
Everybody
honestly,
hated
good.
him. Yeah. But he's like, people are like, you ruined the show. It's the worst show. And it was 3 episodes when I was 8 years old.
Yeah, like you didn't. Yeah. Like it's not like he took someone's place.
Yeah. It wasn't a whole season. Like it was only 3. And I was like, that can't be true.
That's so. He was so hated that people. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The perception was he ruined the whole show.
The whole entire show was ruined because of him. But I'll stick up for Robbie Rist. But he was bad on that show. So Saturday night, 8 o'clock, what was the first thing you went with?
The 8 p.m. The Love Boat.
Which you had to do at the time.
Which now I never really watched it, but it would be like maybe I'll bring my Barbies into the living room and have
Right.
it on in the background.
Little atmosphere.
Yeah, but I'm not like into the Love Boat. Like I don't even remember anything about it. I could sort of see the outfits.
It was I always thought of it as like a good value for money show because you could watch basically 4 shows in an hour because they
Yeah.
had the separate plots and they'd be totally different.
Yeah. And maybe that's what I didn't get about it. I was too young.
It was a little weird. Like it'd be very disjointed and hard to follow when you're small. But this one, high fashion on the high seas with romantic hijinks galore during a cruise to Acapulco for Fashion Festival. This is interesting. Playing themselves are designers Jeffrey Bean, Halston, Bob Mackey, and Gloria Vanderbilt.
Oh my God, I would watch that episode
watch that now.
right fucking now. I didn't realize I had picked that with
Yeah.
Halston.
How bizarre is that
Which
they're playing themselves?
Halston, the brand, follows me on Twitter. And that's all I just came here to brag about. And I'm going to throw the mic down and leave.
And they're a one-person name? Just
Halston.
Halston.
Yeah.
That's rare in 82 to be a one-namer.
Yeah.
It was just Cher, I think, at that point.
Cher, Halston. Yeah.
That'd be it.
Yeah, not
Liberace.
Sunny. Liberace.
All the fashion
Oh my God,
people.
I want to watch that episode. I'm sure it's on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm sure we can find it. If we can,
Okay,
I'm sure I
so
could get you a
8-year-old
copy.
Jen, 7-year-old Jen, not appreciating that yet.
Yeah.
Now that's what I think should
It
be on
sounds
television
amazing.
now.
I do remember, I mean, I was a huge House of Style person as well, but there seemed to be just like fashion designers on regular TV a lot more for whatever weird reason. They'd like pop up in things.
Oh, I don't remember that.
It was very weird. Isaac Mizrahi in everything for like 3 years.
See, I don't even know what he looks like, and I enjoy fashion.
Yeah. Do you know former Boston comedian Mehran?
No.
Mehran? He's an Iranian.
Oh, yes,
comic.
I
Yeah,
do know
he
him.
looks-
Yeah, sorry. I didn't recognize his
Yeah,
name when you
looks
said it.
exactly like Isaac Mizrahi.
He does?
Yeah, that's just picture
I
him.
love him. He's so
That's
funny.
Isaac Mizrahi. is a pretty
Okay,
good.
I'll just picture
yeah.
him next time.
Or him mixed with Greg Dooley from Afghan Wigs is kind of Isaac Mizrahi. Also, we have Elkie Summer in this episode and Robert Vaughn. So I'm all in on this.
I'm
is a
going to
good one.
YouTube this when I
Yeah,
go.
this will definitely be up there. And that's an hour. There's a special called Snowbird that is clearly, since we're in April, they burn a lot of pilots in 82. So this was clearly a pilot that was not picked up.
Right.
And it's a high school ski team's aspirations for a national championship are deflated when their top skier, high on speed, severely injures himself. And the high on speed, his kid is played by Tim Van Patten, and the coach is played by Dick Van Patten. And Joe is played by James Van Patten. Ralph Macchio's in it, and it's filmed in San Bernardino Mountains.
And so it's a 1 hour or is it?
It's a 1 hour.
It's just a special. Because I was going to say, high on speed is not really like, that is something that like somebody was like, okay, we have to incorporate anti-drug messages in some of your programming, whatever channel. So here's the high on speed episode. Of
skiing. Like, are
so
skiers
great.
known for doping?
Like, not until Family Ties Alex staying up to take his tests.
Yeah.
Had we seen speed.
For skiing.
Oh,
He's
that's
really
so
injures
great.
Himself. I wish this made it to series. What other drugs and activities could they have mixed together? But I think Love Boat was the way to go. But I thought that was a nice, odd.
I'd watch that now.
only.
I'd watch the shit out of that right now.
9 o'clock would you go with?
9 o'clock, I went with the Barbara Mandrell special.
Yep.
That's one of those things about being a kid that I appreciate now looking back on, which is like, look, and I hate to sound like the old lady, but you watch what's on TV. You know, you're going to see some grown-ups and not everything's catered to you. And I think I would have enjoyed some of maybe some sequin dresses, some glitzy microphones, some singing, some just good old-fashioned variety entertainment.
Yeah. And this was 82 was when it was almost dead. It had pretty much died out, but we were still getting like a few of them still had the variety shows. But the Mandrell Sisters was kind of the last one that held on.
Yeah.
And yeah, same thing. Like if someone asked you if you wanted to watch it, you would probably say no. But if it's on, you're going to watch it because your other option is to watch nothing.
It's people entertaining me.
Yeah. And this episode is Roy Rogers, Dale Evans, Sons of the Pioneers, and Stephen Warner. And then it goes through all the songs they do and who sings them.
It's a beautiful time in the 80s when culture was changing, and then you still have these throwbacks, like these Roy Rogers, like late 60s, like people pretending that the 70s didn't happen.
Yeah.
Like, we've moved on. Like, we're not innocent anymore.
Yeah, it was that Reagan revival where people were like, let's skip the 70s.
And that's also that Reagan, that speed stuff.
Yeah.
Like, we're doing these anti-drug things. I love
the
it.
50s, 80s parallel way beyond Happy Days, where it was just like, no, things were good. It's like, no, it wasn't. It was the same things that we're just rewatching over and over now. 82 is also a weird year because I always kind of joke that the 70s didn't end until 1984, which is when the 80s started to feel like the 80s.
I think you're totally right, because when you look back at the 90s, we always think of like Nirvana, this and that, and they didn't start really until 93.
Yeah.
Like, it still looked like the 80s before that. Like, 91 was very big hair.
Like, Pump Up the Jam is very 80s to me, but it's like 92.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And I did also put, though, that at 9:30 I would watch Dolly Parton Variety Hour. So I don't know if I would switch between, but I would definitely enjoyed some Dolly Parton always.
If it's the Mandrells versus Dolly, I mean, Dolly's going to win every day of the week. And she actually had the last regular variety show on U.S. television. In 1987, she had a show called Dolly on ABC that was weirdly paired with Spenser for Hire on Sunday nights.
Oh my God, Spenser for fucking Hire.
Which here's the theory I have about growing up in Boston, as you did as well.
Yeah.
For some reason, I know that lying exists outside of Massachusetts. But children in Massachusetts make lying an art form, and there was always kids with like classic Boston lies. Yeah. The 90s one was, I fucking beat up Marky Mark. That was, my brother. Yeah. Everyone had someone with that lie.
My friend told me, oh my God, all my friends and I got in a circle and we would taunt Maki and we would say loser while he danced.
Yeah.
That was my friend Anne's story.
Totally a lie, I imagine.
I'm sure.
But in the 80s, it was always some variation of, my uncle was a fucking killer on Spenser for Hire. Yeah, he played a killer.
Everybody was on Spenser for Hire. And then you know what's so funny? As I was like, I think I was an extra on that, but I wasn't. I think that was a lie. Either I tried to be or I thought about it.
They shot at the channel a lot. So if you were ever going to like a show down there.
No.
Yeah.
I want to say that maybe my mother would read casting calls, like me, would go, but we never did it. Like go audition to be an extra for Spenser, or she would just be like, "They film it here," and it was so exciting. Like they were going to recruit, like maybe they were going to go through the suburbs. Yeah, like that Brady Bunch episode where the director's following them around the grocery store. Yeah, and I was like, There was a thrill to waking up and going to school every day and going about my life, knowing that Spenser for Hire filmed. I didn't live in Boston proper,
Right.
but 15, 20 minutes away.
That was the only
Maybe someone
Hollywood
will
we
come
have.
find me. Yeah.
Robert Urich might see me and go, "You're in an episode,"
Totally.
and then I'm a big star.
And I loved how that's how I thought it worked too. Like,
Yeah.
the star would find you, and,
Hey,
and
kid.
they get to cast things.
It was, I mean, growing in Boston was so far away from anything remotely entertainment-y. So,
Yeah.
I mean, late 70s, we had James of 15, which was a show I loved, but was...
I've never even heard of it.
Oh, you'd love it, actually. It was a huge influence on my so-called life.
Oh, okay.
And it's about this kid played by Lance Kerwin who was in The Loneliest Runner. If you've ever seen that.
No.
Or he's in Salem's Lot. He was in the TV movie Salem's Lot.
Got it. Okay.
He's a Portland teenager and his parents moved to Boston and he's like an outcast and it's just like a teen drama, but it's really smart and weird. And Terry Nunn from the band Berlin is in an episode as like a teenager with a bad reputation.
And it's called James of 15?
At 15.
Oh, at 15.
And then they had an episode where he lost his virginity and they changed the title to James at 16 and then it got canceled.
Yeah, that's too young.
Yeah.
That's too
Yeah.
young. You
And this was like
cannot put that on
78.
Oh, yeah. No.
But it's a great show, and it was a really smart, weird show.
Oh, I'll watch that.
It was less than a season, and then Spenser for Hire was our 80s show, and then what did we have, 90s Real World? We had like nothing.
Yeah, there was...
That.
Well, what was that show? Well, Highway to Heaven. That was in the 80s.
With Michael Landon.
Yeah, that was a big one in our house.
Were you very, very Catholic family?
Yes, but my mother was the most Catholic, hated him.
Oh, really?
Hated
Why?
him.
Did she have a reason?
Because she read the National Enquirer. So my dad stopped going to church and he would just lay on the couch and he'd watch that. And my mother would stand over him and go, "Ronnie, Michael Landon is a wife beater. He is not a good man. He is not a God-loving man."
She at least didn't like Victor French, his buddy on the show.
She could not. And I was like, "Don't say that." I loved the show. And then there was an
Yeah.
episode about a retarded kid and I saw my dad cry.
There was like maybe 10. I feel like every episode of that show was somehow involved with the Special Olympics.
It was like him being nice to someone
Yeah.
who was challenged.
Yeah,
in
he
some
had
way.
Down syndrome and he ran away from the Special Olympics and Michael Landon finds him. I met the kid who played, he didn't have Down syndrome, he was special, but the kid who played him, have you ever seen Children of the Corn?
No, too scary.
The kid who plays the boy preacher played the kid with special needs in that episode.
So the kid didn't really have special needs?
No, they did one later with a kid with
okay.
Down syndrome, but in that one, and I know what
Yeah.
you're talking about, and he finds him living in an alley in a dumpster.
Yes!
Yeah, and I met the guy who played that kid, and he got nominated for like a young person's Emmy or something from it. But that show was so depressing. It was so
I
depressing.
loved it so much.
I would watch
I'll
it.
have to Google if he was a wife beater. I don't know what my mom was reading. It was the Enquirer, but I don't know if it was ever found out.
I remember seeing things like that in the Enquirer, but I've never seen anything since. Like I've only heard good things since, so I'm thinking it.
Well,
might be
that's
garbage.
the that's the
That's the
scam that
Enquirer.
his lawyers put on him.
The Dolly Show on ABC was amazing, and it would only one season. Miss Piggy co-hosted an episode, and it was great. Like Dolly would come out at the beginning and take questions from the audience,
Yeah.
like Carol Burnett, and just crazy questions. And then in the middle of the show was an ongoing serialized dramatic sitcom where Dolly played a truck stop waitress, and then there would be songs and like it was crazy, and it was such a good show.
I've never seen it. I would watch that now too.
It was great. Nobody watched it. I don't know why. It was great. And she did my favorite Christmas special of all time.
What is it?
It was called 1990s Christmas at Home with Dolly Parton, with her and all her sisters at Dollywood. And it is insane.
Oh my God, I'm literally never leaving my house again. I
Yeah.
have so much catching up to do.
That is on YouTube, I know for a fact.
Okay.
It's amazing. She dresses as Rudolph at one point. It's crazy. Yeah. So where are we? On Sunday night.
Oh yeah.
What'd you go with?
Sunday night starts off slow for me and then it gets rip roaring. So 8:00, I only have two things I can watch: ChPs or Archie Bunker's Plays.
Yeah, that's a very different choice.
So that's like, I'd probably go with Archie Bunker's Place, even though I know I used to watch that show.
Yeah,
But I would always be like, oh wait, this isn't All in the Family.
right.
But yeah, ChPs I've seen, but that, like, I'm switching over to 8:30 to one day at a time.
Yeah, ChPs is a show that I never really liked, although, and I always reference it on this show because I'm obsessed with the punk rock scare shows, like the episode of Quincy.
Yes.
And ChPs has a really great one.
ChPs has a punk rock episode too, right? Yes. I think that's like the one I've seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of the only one you need to see where
Yeah.
Ponch is practicing slam dancing in the lockers, which is
So
ridiculous.
great. And it's always like, punks that look like London punks.
Yeah, or heavy metal dudes.
Yeah, like they did that in Back to the Beach too. They got it all wrong in a delightful way.
Yes.
But like a lot of spikes.
Yeah, or beards. Like punks didn't have beards.
No.
Yeah,
and they're always
weird.
big instead of really tiny.
Yeah, they should look sick. They need to look like the only way they'd hurt you is if they gave you a disease.
Yeah, and they never pegged their pants at the bottom. They never got it right.
It was never correct. Back to the Beach, a movie we both love.
So great.
And speaking of locations, I think I pointed out to you that the Malibu Pier is where the daughter's apartment was, where the Malibu Farms restaurant is, which is the pajama party scene.
It's so good. It's so good.
That movie never gets old.
Never.
I love it every time I see it.
I saw it I watched it was having some really bad turbulence on a flight a couple of years ago. And I was like, what will just make me happy?
Right.
Like, A, if I'm dying, and B, if I'm not. And I had that on my computer and I watched it and it was like, it just cured everything. And it was the thing that made me really want to move to California.
Same.
As a Boston person. I was like, if this is what it's like, and by the way, it's not.
No.
Because you don't live at the Malibu Pier with
Right.
a bunch of punks and your girlfriends and, your boyfriend that has a surfboard. But
Tiny surfboard, engagement ring.
yeah. But if you did live that life, California would be fantastic.
Yeah, I've been out here a number of times. You've lived here for a number of years.
Yeah.
I don't want to speak for you, but I assume neither of us have had a pajama party at any point.
No, never.
Never. Never once learned how to Jamaica ska on the beach.
Never.
Never solved a dispute with a surf off.
Nope, never saw Pee Wee Herman ride a wave.
Unlike Massachusetts, where we do solve most disputes with yacht races.
And you do see like people dressed in full leather on the beach in some Massachusetts beaches. Yeah.
We used to go to Good Harbor all the time.
The fuck's that?
In Gloucester.
Oh, Gloucester. Yeah.
Because we go to Cranes Beach, but the greenheads would be there 2 weeks a year and they'd bite the shit out of you.
What are those?
They're like these big flies.
I know what you're talking about.
They're like horse flies. So we would go to Gloucester and my mother used to make us go to the beach from like 7 a.m. to like 5 p.m. So I would it was brutal. And I would, I was like all gothy, teen punky. So I brought a tent and I'd just sit in a tent and like eat bagels and read magazines. Now I like the beach, then not so much.
That's beautiful.
In Archie Bunker's place this evening this is interesting. This is the first time I can think of that this appeared in a show. Preparations for Stephanie's bat mitzvah, are interrupted by the arrival of an unexpected guest, her penniless father. First of 2 parts.
Who's Stephanie?
I think that
Gloria's
was
daughter?
Gloria's daughter. I think so. Because
Michael became penniless?
I think so. He's not in this episode, so maybe it's not. I think in the plot of that show, Archie kind of adopted like a kid who wasn't Gloria's daughter, because Gloria had her spinoff where she was the veterinarian at this time, and Gloria.
God,
so they must have spun her off. But it must not be.
Who's this Jewish kid?
Stephanie.
You can only imagine the jokes in that episode.
Oh, God. She's played by Danielle Brisbois. And no one else in this I can think of is anyone who's...
That is such a bizarre...
It's a very weird 2-part bat mitzvah episode. Although Archie Bunker's Place does have one of the saddest episodes of a sitcom I've ever seen.
Yes, I
with
think
the slipper,
I know what you're going to say.
After the wife dies and he goes home and he doesn't crack and he's Archie Bunker and he's all tough. And that last shot is he sits down in his chair and one of her slippers is under the chair and he picks it up and just breaks down crying.
Oh, no, I don't know that. I thought, doesn't he die? Isn't that how the show ends?
Yes, I believe it is.
Oh, okay, that's what I was thinking of.
But we didn't care about that.
End the show.
All shows should end with the main cast dying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then
we will never
reunion.
reunite. Unless it's a zombie reunion.
heaven.
Yeah. They're up there having a sitcom in heaven. And then you went One Day at a Time.
Yeah, so this is like working class night.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, One Day at a Time was my favorite. Probably for Schneider back then.
Yeah.
And now I'm into it for like the plot and the women of it all. And then to look at Mackenzie Phillips and be like, was she high then?
Right.
I like to look back now at people that I know are high and see if I can tell.
It's hard to tell. I've done the same thing.
It's really hard to tell.
I can't tell. And Valerie Bertinelli sometimes I feel like might be. And then I'm like, but I know she wasn't.
No, well, she claims she wasn't.
She may not have been. She hosts one of those kids cooking shows now.
Well, that seems awful.
I can't watch enough of it. It's
really?
the best because all the boys that cook are just gay and don't know it. And
right.
They're so excited all the time. So they're just like, burritos! And they're like these little fat gay kids and they're so happy.
Yeah.
And it's just really funny. And Valerie Bertinelli has to like critique them, but be nice. And it's, when I watch new stuff, that's the kind of stuff I tend to watch.
I think I've seen one of those kids shows on a plane just with the sound off, and I was like, why am I watching children cooking?
Yeah, with the sound off, it is not good. But if you could listen to it on the radio, it would be very
I would probably
entertaining.
listen to that.
You don't need to see the food. This is the last episode of One Day at a Time.
Oh my God.
It's the conclusion. The family rushes off to Las Vegas to talk Barbara out of having a quickie wedding.
Wow.
Not to Eddie Van Halen.
Is that... did they know that was the last episode?
I don't know. I don't think...
Seems like a good series
that is
finale,
a good series
I guess.
finale. And by 82, the show had been on like maybe 5 or 6
Did
seasons.
Schneider and the mom get together? No.
I don't think so.
I can't remember.
If they did, I blocked it out because I didn't want that to happen. I was
No.
like, Bonnie Franklin can do better than Schneider. And even though he's not a bad guy,
Not a bad guy.
it was the mustache. He was too Super Mario.
Yeah. And I think gay in real life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
it was,
now
yep.
looking back, you're like, oh, that guy is gay.
Yep. Very Pat Harrington. He would
Yeah.
be very happy to cook on a children's TV show if he was under 12. He'd be very excited.
Yeah.
And in a rare show about a single mother that was not about a single mother whose like husband died.
Right. And who's not like sad about it.
Right.
And there was was she sober too? Is that why it was One Day at a Time?
I think so.
From that, I think also sober.
Yeah.
So it was like these two things that like now you'd be like pitching that show and they'd be like, is it sad? And you'd
Yeah.
be like, not unless you're a fucking pussy.
Well, have you seen the new one?
No, I haven't seen it.
I haven't either, but I keep waiting for someone whose opinion I trust to watch it before I
Right.
do. Because it could be one of those things that makes me like I hate everything.
Are they redoing the plots?
Yeah, they're using the same scripts.
Oh, good. Oh, I approve.
Yeah, they're
It's
just
just that
updating
it's
it.
Latina, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sure it'll be great then.
Which I guess makes sense. That would be the group of people today that would probably be the blue collar people that would have that plot line would be more akin to their experience.
Yeah, I think I approve if it's the same scripts.
And then Alice.
Oh my God, Alice, such a good show. Now that's another one with 2 theme songs.
Yes. Yes.
Ba, 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 ba.
One
I
of
don't know what-
the rare ones where then they had vocals later.
Yes.
Like lyrics later.
Yes. It was
I can't think of what the lyrics are.
because I'm getting you're gonna make it after all stuck in my head.
Yeah.
But it was like
It was along
taking
those
the
lines.
day, taking it something.
It was a big like you can do it kind
yeah.
of thing.
Oh, so good. She's driving the car. I had a crush on Tommy, her son.
Yep. Philip McKeon.
Yep.
Nancy
Nancy's
McKeon's brother.
We love Kiss My Grits. We love
Yep.
such great comedic actresses. Made me want to be a waitress. Thought it was so glamorous. And I did end up waitressing in a very similar establishment.
It's not glamorous.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
No. But in my head, I would be like, pretend you're an Alice. Pretend you're an Alice.
Yeah.
Get through it. Get through it. Mel
Vic Tayback.
Victavia
Yep.
died during...
Yeah, I think the last season he died.
Yeah, like in real life, though,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Just like on Give Me a Break when one of the best named actors ever, Dolph Sweet, who played the Chief, died. And they did the last season in New York City without him. They moved to New York.
That's right.
This show was a huge phenomenon and a weird thing that it spun off from a dramatic movie. Mm-hmm. I think it was a Martin Scorsese movie.
Alice doesn't live here anymore,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
which is really weird. George Wendt guest stars in this episode.
Okay.
Which is always a good thing. Pre-Cheers.
Pre-Cheers,
started
yeah.
the next season. I had Veruca Salt on the band on the show, and Louise and Nina got in a somewhat of an argument over 8 is Enough theme song because one of them insisted it didn't have lyrics and one of them insisted it did. And they were both right, but I didn't find that out till later.
Oh, I was like, I don't even know it.
Yeah, like 3 seasons in, they put lyrics to it. It was like 8 is enough. It was like
Yeah,
this
that's
real lifted-
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So you're both right. And then at 9, where are we? 9:30? Did you go with?
9:30, we're going with the Jeffersons because
Yeah.
that's what I would have watched. But I
Yeah.
did notice that there's also a Dean Martin special on.
There is, and
But-
this has Dom DeLuise, and you can't go wrong with Dom
Yeah,
DeLuise.
I never was a fan.
Did you ever see what's the one? This is the End with him and Burt Reynolds trying to commit suicide.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. I've seen clips on TV, but I don't like know the plot.
It's very funny. It's a very funny show.
But yeah, the
A movie.
Jeffersons I was super into. So yeah, like we go from working class to like rich people.
Right, but new rich who were
New
doing
rich
it wrong.
with the working class maid, of course.
Right, right. Which was always weird. How many maids were in shows when we were growing up?
Yes.
I didn't know anyone that had a maid. Nobody.
Yeah, I was trying to think of the rich kids in my town if they had a maid. If they did, it wasn't like I live with you, I'm a maid.
Right.
It was like they probably had a housekeeper
We have a
that I
cleaner
didn't
once
see.
a week or something.
Yeah, but no one I knew had a maid.
No, because I feel like kids I grew up with who had one, they definitely would have bragged about it.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, I don't remember that. That was like a TV world thing.
Yeah.
But it's not, would they live in the city? Maybe people in New York City have maids.
In their smaller apartments that are more expensive.
Yeah, like you have a live-in maid.
Yeah,
like, didn't she
that's-
live there?
Yeah. Almost all the shows they lived there. And then
Yeah.
we had the whole Manny subgenre with Who's the Boss and Charles in Charge and
That's right.
Mr. Belvedere, and it was just like, what's
Right.
going on here? This is not reflective
Right.
of my world.
Everyone had a maid. Mrs. Garrett,
Yep. Yeah. Oh yeah, Diff'rent Strokes. I forgot
Yeah.
that she was their maid. Yeah, everybody. And
Nell was the
yep,
maid.
she was the maid. And that show I was always like, I think they want to just make a show about an interracial couple. But instead, they have to have her be the
Because
maid.
they didn't even have a nice house. Like
No.
it wasn't fancy.
Yeah, it was like a blue cop. He was a cop.
Yeah.
It was like, what is she
with my
cleaning?
live-in maid.
Yeah, it was very weird. Who was his dead wife's best friend, which was extra strange.
Yeah, you're right. They just wanted to make a show about an interracial couple,
Yeah.
but I don't know if they
we'll
did.
make her the maid and then kill the wife. That's way more. There's a few shows like that I always suspect. Like Kate and Allie, I'm like, that was they want to do a lesbian couple show raising their kids.
Oh,
But instead they got to be like, no, they're divorced and have to live together.
right.
Or My Two Dads,
Yep, totally.
which it's more socially acceptable to have a woman who had sex with two guys in like a week period
And doesn't know who the
doesn't know
dads
who the
are.
dad is. Then here's two guys that love each other with a daughter.
Yeah.
It was like, no, court order because we don't know.
And they couldn't do DNA testing back then, I guess.
There's an episode in the third season where they can, and Stacey Keenan gets it, and she tears
That's
it off.
right. She doesn't want to know because
Yeah.
you're both my
You're both
dad.
my
I
dad.
totally remember that.
Yep. Paul Reiser, maybe his finest work.
Yes, for sure. It's finest work.
Maybe Aliens. No, I'm going with My Two Dads. And Stacey Keenan from that show, who was on Step by Step later, she's a lawyer in the Valley now. She completely quit acting,
Really?
and she's a defense attorney. Yeah.
I don't get that.
It's, well, did you ever watch Parker Lewis?
Yeah.
Jerry from that show, Troy Slayton, is also a defense attorney in LA.
I mean, God bless, but it seems like a lot of work.
It does. And he says it's like acting because he makes speeches and does whatever.
Well, I can see that.
I did get him to confess that he has reused lines from Parker Lewis in people's defense.
Shut up.
He was like, well, they're just really well written and they made the point I was trying to
Oh
make.
my God, that's really great.
And I was like, yeah, maybe if I get in trouble, I'll have you be my defense attorney. Monday night, 8 o'clock, there's a very special show on at 8 that I don't know if you picked, but it's a show called Today's FBI.
No, I wouldn't have been interested in that.
The FBI plays a deadly game of hide and seek with a ruthless kidnapper. The stakes, a $500,000 ransom, and a young boy's life.
I don't know why that makes me burst out laughing.
Yeah. Well, it's just ridiculous. There was a lot of that.
I picked something that I would have watched then had I been allowed to watch Showtime. Gallagher had a
Yes.
1-hour comedy special.
Yes.
And I'm sure I've seen it at my friend's house.
This was Gallagher Too Real, which sounds
Too
like
Real.
a weird rap version
Does it
of
say
Gallagher.
more?
Thursday at 10 p.m. It has the thing here. Have you ever met him before?
No.
I met him at Bridgetown, and he's the only person I ever had to pretend to take a phone call to get away from.
Was he just ranting and raving about?
He's super racist now.
Yeah, I heard that on I think it was Mark Maron's podcast.
Yeah,
maybe.
well, first of all, the first night we get to Bridgetown, Portland is super strict about IDs to get in anywhere. Like, you need an ID,
Oh, yeah,
no
to
matter
get in
how
the
old
bar.
you are.
Yeah.
So he was supposed to be on the show, and he doesn't have an ID, and he apparently hasn't had an ID since he was like 40. And so he's like 70 years old with no ID, and this 20-year-old kid at the door is like, you can't come in.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
Which is
but-
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because he's clearly old. But he's got a satin jacket on with his name on it and a cartoon of himself on the back. And he's trying to use that as his ID. He's like, this is me. This me. It's me on the jacket. It's me.
I
And
say
so
that works.
I would say that works. And I'm standing there and I made a joke to the kid and I said, oh, the state where he's from, you have the option to get your license as a plastic card or as a satin jacket. And the kid goes, where? Oh, no, you don't.
Oh
Like, I
my
was like,
God. Oh my God.
So-
Throw them all in the bay.
So someone from the festival comes and gets him in, but like the next day, I was walking down the street and he's talking to a couple of friends of mine, and I say hi to them, and then they kind of just run. So they like leave me there with him, and he's got a purse full of something, and he's eating a box of Cheez-Its.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, "Oh, you're a comic. Tell me your jokes. I'll fix them. Tell me your jokes."
Oh God,
So-
I'll fix
Yeah,
them.
and I'll fix them. So I was like, "Yeah, no, I don't. I do kind of like stories. It's not really jokes." So he finishes the Cheez-Its, throws the box away, waits a beat, looks at me, and pulls another full box of Cheez-Its out of the bag and just starts eating them. And I'm like, I need to pretend to take a phone call to get away from him.
Oh,
But I
poor
did
guy.
love the specials when I was
I
a
thought
kid.
he was kind of hot when I was younger.
Was it the mustache or
No,
the hat?
it's a bell bottoms. I
the
think I just
bell-bottoms.
probably liked the outfits.
Yeah, it did stand out. It was very weirdly.
I just liked those 70s that was, but like the Hardy Boys or
Yeah.
whatever. Like I liked a kind of
feathered hair.
feathered
kinda,
hair
yeah.
70s guy. I didn't.
Sean Cassidy look.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I just lumped him in with that. But
It's not like you were into Doug Henning.
who's Doug Henning?
He was that magician that looked like Gallagher.
No,
who go,
no.
Thank you.
No.
Yeah. Because that would be a problem.
And then 9 p.m. This is boring, but I would have watched there was a ballet because I took ballet then, and I loved watching it.
There was a lot of ballet and dance stuff on TV when we were growing up.
Yeah, it was just like, oh, this is one of the arts.
Yeah, and it was probably really cheap to put on because they just throw a camera in something already happening, and it was huge.
I'm trying to think if that like the Reagans. Part of me thinks they killed the arts, but part of me thinks no, maybe they.
They did cut the arts severely. Part of
Okay.
it was during the Piss Christ thing, Robert Mapplethorpe.
That's right. That's
so
right. Then
it's-
art became bad, but I
Yeah.
feel like things like ballet, they were okay with.
Yeah, the high arts were fine.
The high arts were fine.
In Massachusetts, too, when we had Weld, he cut funding for everything and let everyone out of mental homes, if you remember that. And that's
I do.
We got crazy people everywhere.
Yeah, I do remember that. Well, I don't remember experiencing any, but I remember hearing about it.
Yeah, I remember seeing a marked uptick in people yelling at nothing.
I didn't happen in my little corner of the world, but I remember my mother telling me that people were going to break in now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, just so I could be aware.
Could that really happen? Yeah.
Yeah, about that and the nuclear war.
Yep. Hopefully the nuclear war will hit when the people break in, then you'll die first.
Yeah.
That'd
they'll-
be perfect. Best case.
Yeah, best case scenario.
We're glass half full. Where are we here? Yeah, so this is the ballerinas Alicia Alonso, Eva, Russian name, Carla Fracci, and Gisteline Thesmar are featured. Were you like going to the Nutcracker every year into ballet or just like, I'm going to be a dancer kind of?
Yeah, I took ballet every week since I was like, I started at like age 4 or 5. So, I mean, I was only in it like a few years at that point.
Right.
But at that point, I wanted to be ballerina.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so,
that's like a real life princess for kids.
sort of. I mean, but I wanted the blood, the sweat.
Oh, you wanted to work
Yeah,
in-
not the
yeah.
costumes. Like, I was super into like the hardcore of it.
The flash dance part of it.
Yeah, I couldn't wait to go on point to get which now my feet are mangled from,
Right.
but I wanted that so bad.
I want to earn this with my blood, sweat, and tears.
No, so ballet was starting to become cool because we're almost at Baryshnikov.
Right.
I think that is one of the shows I
Yeah.
picked on another night. So it was like, I just thought everyone's into ballet and that's a viable job.
It was kind of a weird little bubble where ballet
Yeah.
was cool. Yeah, because Baryshnikov defected from Russia and they like wanted to start a war over him.
Yes, totally.
And then he had his own variety show and he was in that movie White Nights.
Yes,
where he was
oh
like
my
an actor all
God.
the time all of a sudden.
Oh, did I go to the movies to see that?
I even went to go see that. It was and then is he alive still? I never hear about
Is
him.
he alive? Yes, he made
Okay.
a wonderful internet video about not voting for Trump.
Oh, excellent.
He made you guys have to realize the severity of
Right.
how much we are becoming like Russia.
I defected from communist
Yeah.
Russia. Yeah.
Oh my God, he's hot as shit. Too.
Oh, I'm going to have to look that up because I have not
And
seen him.
I'm sure you knew he was on Sex and the City years
Yeah.
ago.
Oh, yes. Now I
yeah.
remember that. he
Oh
was
my
on that.
God, the
Yeah.
man is a dream.
Well, it's good to know that he's doing all right
Yeah.
these days.
I mean, I think he might have to defect back to Russia depending on how bad it gets in
we
America.
had a ton of plots of people defecting from Russia on TV shows.
Yes.
Like there was a Wonder Woman and a Fall Guy and a Highway to Heaven where there was like a defector, Night
And
Court.
then the Family Ties Russian chess
Yep.
episode. I don't
Yep.
think he defected, but
Head of the Class was the first American show to shoot in Russia.
oh my God, I remember that.
Yeah, they did a 2-parter where they went to Russia for the debate finals.
Mm-hmm.
And Dennis got arrested for smuggling in Beatles records and blue jeans he was going to sell to the Russians. And they had to go get him out of jail.
I can't think they actually shot in Russia. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was the first U.S. production to shoot in Russia. which is such a weird thing. That's like, of all, like, oh, what?
It's not
what
even an
amazing
iconic
show is
show.
the
Yeah.
head of the class, Howard Hessman. So you're watching that the full hour, I imagine.
Oh yeah, full hour.
Yeah.
I'll probably fall asleep on the couch.
You missed Lou Grant that night.
That's
which,
all right.
Again, a rare dramatic spin-off from a comedy.
Yeah, totally.
Really bizarre. People love Lou Grant.
He
on
was sitting
Very
behind
Small.
that desk like, I'm gonna get my own show
Yeah,
someday.
and I wanted to be an hour-long drama. Damn it. Where are we? Tuesday night? Yeah, Tuesday
Yes.
night, 8:00.
This is classic. I mean, this night is. I can't even believe all these shows are on at the same in the same night.
This is a good night.
We start with Happy Days.
Yes.
That was one of my favorite shows.
This is an epidemic of girl trouble plagues the menfolk, especially Roger. So we're in a Ted McGinley era.
Okay.
Whose heartthrob is seeing another guy.
Wait, what?
Yeah, they use the term heartthrob, but it's Robin Dearden. I've never heard heartthrob used
woman?
for a woman.
That's weird.
I mean, I don't see why it couldn't be.
No, but it's never.
No.
They might have meant to write like sweetheart or something.
Heartthrobette.
That is weird. I was like, wait, is it gay?
Yeah,
I don't remember this episode at all.
I had checked out by this point.
But I watched Joanie Loves Chachi, so I must have watched Happy Days until the bitter end.
Yeah, the weirdest thing about this show was it started as a shot on film, single camera show set in the 50s. And by this point, 3 cameras, video, and they stopped pretending it was the 50s.
It was the 70s, right?
Yeah, it was full on 70s. What happened?
And then Mork landed.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was contemporary. They didn't bother to set that in any time period. Because
No.
Laverne and Shirley, at least they were like, yeah, it's kind of still the 50s. I don't know.
I just rewatched Laverne and Shirley recently and was like, oh yeah, that was the 50s too.
Yeah. Until they moved to Hollywood in the last 2 seasons.
Oh, I loved their apartment.
Yeah, that was a good
Oh,
apartment.
that was great.
I've seen Carmine, the big Ragu, who's from Lowell, Mass. He lives in New Hampshire
from
now.
fucking Lowell,
He's
I
from
know
fucking
it.
Lowell, which makes
Yeah.
so much sense now when you watch the show.
Yep.
I've seen him driving in New Hampshire because his license plate says Big Ragu.
No, it doesn't.
And I was like, wow, that guy must really... Oh, it's him.
God bless him.
Yep.
Why wouldn't you?
I guess
if
he
that's
would.
your claim to fame, own it.
It would be extra bad if he went to get that and the DMV was like, nope, someone's got it. I'm the big... Look at my satin jacket.
I'm going to sing... He always sang rags to riches.
Yeah. Yeah. So if anyone wants to
Oh, good for
go
him.
train spot for the Big Ragu, go to New Hampshire. There's a weird documentary on that would have terrified me as a kid, and I probably would have watched it, called speaking to what we were talking about, Who Will Protect the Family? A report on the conflicts between feminists and their foes, focusing on 2 middle-aged, middle-class, born-again Christian North Carolina housewives, one an ERA lobbyist, the other a pro-family activist.
That was a special?
It was a special on a network.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah.
They make it sound so sinister, like
know.
these feminists.
Who will protect the family? The only show my parents didn't let me watch was 2020 because it used to terrify me. And
That is a scary show.
it was constantly like, don't use lap seatbelts. There's medical waste. Don't use that ATM. Like the Moonies are going to flirty fish.
Yeah.
They're going to be in a cult like all the time. So they were like anything but 2020. And that would have fell into that category.
Yeah. Who's going to protect the family?
Yeah. It's the ERA lobbyist. It's the pro-family activists. I'm very, very scared. There's also a reboot of Brett Maverick that night, too. The 80s version of Maverick with James Garner.
Oh, I don't even know Maverick, really.
Maverick was a great show. He was, if you ever watched, he's just so charming and like doesn't care. It's James Garner. He's like, meh.
Yeah.
And it was a cowboy show, but this one was set in modern times again, weirdly. So they did like an update of Maverick in the 80s in modern times.
Like an 80s cowboy?
Yeah, sort of. He's like a gambler.
Oh,
like
that's cool.
like a rogue.
Yeah.
But I didn't even know they had done a reboot, but this is the last episode of it. And then 8:30, you had to go Laverne and Shirley.
Laverne and Shirley's so good.
This is Laverne's suave ex-fiance arrives in town, determined to make his bride Laverne. So he's coming to win her back.
Oh, I don't remember that one.
I don't either. Maybe my favorite episode of that show is the Christmas one where they're in the prison and Lenny and Squiggy play songs for the prisoners, and Michael McKean has this just amazing song about like Santa the Fat Man or something.
Oh, I don't know it. I recently rewatched the Fabian episode.
Yes,
That's a great one.
that is a very good one.
It follows the another thing that happened a lot in sitcoms, dressing up like the hotel staff and breaking in to see the rock star. It's happened on a lot of different shows.
Yeah. And I know people who've tried that in real life.
Does it work? No.
Some of them it worked. One of them, my friend really wanted to meet some wrestler. I forget who it was.
Yeah.
So him and his father dressed up like food delivery people at the hotel and delivered him his food. And he got to meet him, but the guy was just like, whatever.
That's so great. Yeah, because nowadays you get the key card and you can't get up to the area. And
You'd have to climb a wall or something.
Yeah, you usually have to climb a wall outside.
Yeah. Is there anyone you would have done that for at this time? Was there anyone that you were like...
Back then?
Yeah.
82? Maybe not 82. Not just yet. But probably would have done it for Michael Jackson.
Okay.
Probably would have done it for Boy George.
Okay.
Big crush on Boy George. Not sure what that was about.
My sister had cancer as a kid, and her make-a-wish was she went, I want to go shopping. And I'm like, done. She goes, with Boy George. This was in like 93, and she went with him.
What?
Yeah, they got Boy George.
They made the wish?
They made the wish, and he made her buy ferrets.
What?
Yeah, they gave her like a budget, and they're in a limo.
What a dick.
It was so weird because ferrets, and I used to joke about this in my act. I'm like, because what is a child suffering from a terminal illness need than ferrets to take care of?
Yeah, than like a pet.
Yeah, and bad pets that smell like pee and steal things. But like they were driving by a pet store, and he was like, let's stop. You want some ferrets? And she was like, no, I don't want ferrets. And he paid for the ferrets personally, and they come back, and he comes out with these ferrets, and I remember my dad going to me, you have those when he got here? He was here earlier? And I go, no, I think they're ours. And my father hated Boy George from that point forward.
That's amazing.
He was so mad about it.
Guy.
Yeah.
Did you keep them?
We kept them for like a year, and then we gave them away to somebody because I love animals, but they suck.
No, that's not an animal.
They
it's
suck.
like a rodent.
Yeah, I basically, it's like a furry snake that steals things and bites you. They were just awful. And every time, and they smelled so bad, my dad would walk by the cage and be like, fuck you, Boy George. And
that's amazing.
I remember my dad, when Boy George got that coke bust and had to clean like the park, Central Park.
Yeah.
Nobody was happier than my father.
Yeah, he fucking deserves
You'll
it.
fucking clean that trash up. Fucking ferrets.
Well, God, if only I'd had cancer.
I know, you could have gotten ferrets and gone shopping with Boy George, who at that point was just waiting for the right girl.
Life is so unfair.
I know.
It's only been me.
Oh, well. Maybe now he'd go. He's probably hanging around.
He follows me on Twitter.
Does he really?
I can ask him.
Yeah,
he
might.
follows like 4,000 million people. So it's...
Well, I'm sure he looks at your tweets specifically.
No, I don't think so.
When Debbie Gibson started following me on Twitter, I
Whoa,
got very excited.
That's a big deal.
That was a huge deal. I also made my mother buy Electric Youth perfume.
For you?
It was for her.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
But my dad freaked. I better not catch you wearing that.
I think I would too, even as a open be whatever you want to be. I would be like, but just please don't wear bad perfume.
It was on clearance at Brooks, so I was like,
I know, it's weird.
It was odd in hindsight. Yeah, I don't know how I've even grown up to be what I am today. There's also another expose here called Pleasure Drugs.
Yes.
No longer associated primarily with jet setters and rock stars, cocaine and methaquoline, brand name Quaaludes, are among the trendy drugs finding their way into the American mainstream.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I thought lewds were over in the 70s.
I thought so too. I didn't think they made them anymore after that. But this is a whole hour long looking at the effects of these substances in the use in the workplace. And the armed forces, this is crazy, were, according to one study, 70% of enlisted personnel take drugs.
I remember hearing that was like cocaine was given to soldiers.
I guess
Maybe
if you're gonna...
I watched that. Like, because I knew that somehow.
If you're going to give them a drug, I guess that's the one
That's
to give
the one,
them.
yeah.
You don't want them high on pot. They're not going to do much, but that's a little scary. Three's Company, did you go with it?
Oh, yes!
Yeah. This is a classic.
Oh, what episode is this one?
Jack must come up with a quote-unquote wife to persuade his boss's man-hungry daughter that he's not available.
So he picks one of the girls, obviously.
And I believe it's Joyce DeWitt that he goes with.
Is this the Chrissy years, or is this the Terry, or
this
the
is
Jenny?
Jenny, who I always called the Scooby Dumb of the show.
Yeah.
She was like the hip cousin.
She was the worst years.
Yeah,
Terry,
by far.
Joyce DeWitt, you got to pick because she can handle the scene.
Yeah, and she would seem more believable as Jack's wife.
Yeah. A man-hungry woman.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Man-hungry daughter. I have a wife. It's true. So that whole show is him pretending to be gay or married to other people.
Yeah.
Like every other episode.
And never had a relationship. Nobody did.
No, you're right. Nobody did except for the
Well, then he got married at the end
and then did Three's a Crowd. Yeah.
Boring.
Which is not a great show.
No.
But I really, speaking about growing up in Massachusetts and thinking what California is like, Three's Company, I was like, yep, it's all Regal Beagle all the time.
Oh, totally. Even though now if you lived here, you'd be like, I'm not going to that dank, dark place that looks like it's in Boston.
Drive down to Santa Monica and go to some weird, creepy singles bar.
Yeah, with no windows.
Yeah, no thank you. But at the time seemed very exciting. And then Too Close for Comfort.
Yes, I mean, what a lineup.
Yeah, Weak Kneed Monroe, played by, a lot of people forget this, Jim J. Bullock.
Yeah.
Used to go by capital J, capital M, J. Bullock. That's how he spelled his name. Jim J. Bullock.
No I.
No I.
Oh, weird. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he kind of dropped it later, but it was like a weird
That's
thing he had.
so strange.
Takes an assertiveness training course and turns into an obnoxious bully. I'm just laughing thinking about this.
That's really funny.
I love at the Comedy Store how they have tons of Jim J. Bullock stuff everywhere.
Oh, they do? I never go there.
I don't like it at all.
But where do they have pictures of him hanging out?
He has a sign on the wall, and then one of the neon signs is Jim J. Bullock.
Oh!
And then they also have like a headshot in there of him signed. It's like,
He's
of all
so
the
great.
people. I loved Too Close for Comfort. And mostly because I love Ted Knight, was a great, mad, angry guy.
You forget how many sitcoms he did. Well, that, Mary Tyler Moore.
He was in a Ted Knight show.
Mm-hmm.
And he did you ever used to watch the Super Friends as a kid?
No.
It was a Superman TV show.
Yeah.
But he was the narrator. So he was like, evildoer. Like he would narrate between the things. Was always Ted Knight. Have you heard the infamous story about the Monroe kidnapping episode?
No.
There's an episode in the pre-internet age that people thought was made up. There's also one at Little House on the Prairie that people were terrified of, and nobody could confirm it existed.
Right.
Because they took it out of the syndication package. Monroe is kidnapped by two cross-dressing men who rape him.
Oh, yes! Yes! I know this episode.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But I don't know if I saw it or I just heard it as a rumor.
For years, people were like, that's not a real episode. And like maybe 2 years
Monroe
ago.
rape episode.
It was found. It's
That's
a real
right.
episode.
Amazing.
It's crazy.
Oh, God, I love it.
It is.
All that cocaine that used to just be for rock stars is in the writers' rooms of these shows.
Could
People
you
are just
imagine
losing their minds.
pitching that as a writer? And they're like, sure.
And like, we just have to figure out if that's like season 8, episode 8 or 9 on Tuesday night with the kids watching.
Two-parter?
Oh my God, so great.
Was there ever an awkward, like very special episode that you ended up inadvertently watching with your parents? They had to...
Moonlighting, like just any kind of like sexual scenes.
Yeah.
I was just like, I would just like go into like, I was always like my mother was always sitting in a chair with like books, and I was always laying on the couch. So she was almost behind me. So I just didn't turn around, didn't look, didn't speak.
It was
maybe
like she
pretended I was asleep.
It was like she wanted to merge and you were driving in Boston.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm not. Yeah,
no,
I'm blind.
I'm not being a jerk. I just don't see you.
Yeah, I just was like, shut down. Go into my protective. Anything with sexuality, but anything like drugs or swearing or gay, like that wasn't uncomfortable. But
just any sexuality stuff was I used to remember having to pretend I didn't get some jokes sometimes.
Yes. Well, that's why my parents let me watch Three's Company, because I didn't get the jokes. I didn't get half of them. And so they just thought it was going over my head, and they were like, whatever. Yeah,
I'd have to like stifle laughs sometimes.
Yeah,
I'd be like, I don't know what that means. But they figured me out eventually. And it's not a 10, but I think I just have to note I would probably watch Heart to Heart as well.
No, I never liked it.
Love Stephanie Powers. She was good. Wednesday night, 8 o'clock. Oh, what? Hold on one second here. Yeah. I just noticed a show on at 1:10 a.m. on the PBS station, and this is a North Carolina edition called PP People? P-E-E People. And it's no description. It's just listed as a public affairs program.
What?
Yeah, PP People.
That's wonderful. You'll have to look that up.
I will have to look. I'm afraid to Google that.
People that pee on each other.
I don't know if it...
Pee-pee.
But it must have
maybe
been
it's like an Indian tribe or something.
Maybe? Pee-pee people.
Pee-pee people.
It's like the worst.
So 1:10 in the morning is what's
That's a little strange on PBS. It sounds like a really bad failed children's like toy line.
Maybe it is. That's weird. I bet it doesn't mean piss. But
no, I'm sure it doesn't.
I don't know. You never know.
I wonder. It's got to be like the name of like nickname for like people from a certain town.
Yeah, like the I know you're saying.
Yeah.
The town's called like
Picklewall Paw or something.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
Like, oh, we're peepees.
Yeah, and like people not realizing.
They're old people. They don't know. They haven't discovered urine yet. They wait until they're 65 for that. Wednesday night, what'd you go with?
I went with Real People, which I enjoyed a lot. Those like weird 1 hour shows.
Yeah.
That I don't really know if I was even paying attention, but I feel like I watched that and like.
That's incredible.
And Amazing Story. Oh, Amazing Story is a little different.
Ripley's was the other one.
Ripley's, believe it or not, yes.
With from Curly's Gold.
Oh.
The guy who hosted it was talk like this, and I'm an actor, and I can't think.
I don't know anyone's name of anything.
Yeah,
even like I know like.
He won an Oscar
people.
for he did the push-ups at City Slickers, and then listed Marissa Tomei as the winner for My Cousin Vinny.
Oh, said it by accident.
Yeah. But
I still don't know.
He used to host that show, but I love these things, and these are basically for people who weren't around when we were like YouTube videos.
Yeah,
essentially. And this one is reports on a Venice, California landlord who hasn't raised his rent in 15 years. That's a news story. A one-man band in Butte, Montana, a town in Vermont that's bisected by the U.S.-Canadian border, and a 12-year-old professional cattle auctioneer.
Yeah, it's so like... It's what People magazine used to be, too. Like, actual people, and here's their interesting story. But I would love to go back and see how boring it probably is.
I would like to see follow-ups to, like, what those people are doing now.
I love one that's just like, there's a Canadian border in this town.
Yes.
You're like, how could that be interesting for a 12-minute segment?
Vermont, and then Canada's right there. You could see it. Alicia Witt, the actress.
You bet.
Yes, she was discovered on Real People.
No shit.
She's from Worcester. And
she is?
She is. And she was a savant kid who could play all all these classical music things on piano and recite Shakespeare. She was on Real People. And David Lynch saw her on Real People and cast her in Dune.
Okay, that's so funny because I've never seen Dune, but I have seen every Hallmark Christmas movie that
she's in all of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
she's
that's
great.
Like,
when I'm like, I don't know famous people. I know that.
You know her. Yeah.
Yeah.
She was discovered on that show.
I'm going to have to tell my sister. She's from Worcester.
Yeah.
We're both pretty into her.
And one of the girls from Kids Incorporated who was in Wild Orchid.
Don't even talk about I'm jealous of everyone on that show.
She's from Worcester.
Fuck off.
Yeah. The one who's not Fergie.
I'm just jealous of everyone that was on that show.
On Kids Incorporated?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I desperately wanted to be on that show.
I know.
Yeah.
It's not fair.
We could all live in a post-apocalyptic Brooklyn and sing Pointer Sisters songs. So that's a full hour. And what are you going with at 9?
WKRP and or Facts of Life. So I'm torn. Probably Facts of Life. I liked WKRP, but not if Facts of Life was on.
Yeah, I love Facts of Life.
It just depends on the Facts of Life episode. I didn't. No, you know what's? I'm one of the weird people that liked the store years better.
No, Over Our Heads is the best years.
Because I liked those kind of stores was an 80s thing.
Yeah.
And little girls went to those kind of stores, and that's where you bought birthday gifts for your friends. And you buy these clear containers, and you put jelly beans in them, and it was just like, that's just what you did.
Yeah.
And there was one in Needham where I grew up called Peacock Feather.
Yep.
And it was just like, I just wanted to work there. I loved the merchandise.
Yeah.
I don't even...
Giant Gumbies and neon things.
Yeah.
And
it had nothing. I didn't have a crush on George Clooney. It was just like, I just wanted to look at the store.
That was exactly why I love those years so much. And I've, my poor wife, I've been basically trying to slowly recreate that store in my home.
Oh my God. Don't you want to open a store like that?
Yeah, I have one of those
like
Tangle things that I found.
Oh,
yeah,
I'll go into business with you on it.
Yeah, I think we could make so much money.
Totally.
If someone did one of those pop-up stores like they do now, like would they do like the Max from Saved by the Bell?
It's wildly unethical. It's just like plastic.
Yeah.
I mean, we really shouldn't.
But it would be so great.
It'd be fun.
There was a store in Faneuil Hall called Fun Usual. That was basically like that. I
don't think I know that one.
I would beg my parents to, whenever we were in town,
yeah,
they'd sell like clocks that look like blue dogs and,
totally
rugs that look like grass and like all that kind of.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yep. Loved it. And so I am also one of those people who enjoys those years much more because it was a weirder show too. It was very strange. But this is before that.
And they're out of uniform.
They're out of uniform. Yeah. They're making their way in the world.
Yeah. It's
and
more interesting.
That show had the most backdoor pilots out of any show ever, especially in the last season. They had 4 attempts to keep that show going in the last season. One was
I don't remember.
Natalie moved to New York City and lives in a loft with Richard Grieco and David Spade.
Hello, what? I would watch that.
Yeah.
What was that called?
They did. It never went anywhere. So
okay.
they tried to make it a thing and it didn't work. There was 2 other ones I can't quite remember. One was about like a military academy. And then the last one, last episode of the series, Blair Buys Eastland.
Oh, I remember that.
It was supposed to be a new, but it was Seth Green and Juliette Lewis.
Oh.
were there, and it was just like a really weird cast.
Yeah, like that's not, like no one cared about the school.
The school was what we didn't like.
Yeah, the school was just like, that's how we know each other. Now let's move on.
We want Tootie in The Wiz. We want Joe working at the radio station.
Yeah.
And going out with Paul Provenza. That's
and
what
we want Clooney rolling through doing whatever he's doing.
Smirking and being charming.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Mackenzie Aston. Pre-Garbage Pail Kids movie. Just doing his life. But this is a former student brings her baby for a visit with her old classmates, then disappears, leaving the infant in their care.
Why does that make me laugh?
There was a lot of abandoning children in shows.
So great.
Punky Brewster.
Like, what do we do with the baby?
Just take it. It's Mr. Mom all over again.
And then I'm sure the mother comes back and
has a second thoughts or whatever.
Yeah.
You know she had a heart-to-heart with Edna about why it was wrong.
Yeah. There's no way they just left it hanging.
No. She lives there now.
Yeah.
This baby. That did happen in a few shows.
But I'm sure that, or it's just like they never resolve it, but they don't bring it up the next episode.
Yeah. Pam Adlon was in the show then.
Who's that?
So she's on Louis C.K.'s
okay.
Pamela Adlon.
Yeah.
Yeah, she played like after Joe wasn't a tomboy anymore, they brought her in to be like a street tough kid. It was really weird.
Oh, yeah.
And they tried to spin a show off with her. 2 shows. She almost got a show with Don Rickles that they spun off from Gimme a Break.
Wow. It's so amazing how long people have been around.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Clooney was in everything for years and years.
Oh, I remember he was like, reading about it, that he was like Mr. Pilot.
Oh, yeah. He was in ER, the Elliot Gould one. And then...
the joking ER.
Yeah. And John
no one remembers this. And I'm like, there used to be a comedic emergency room show.
Yeah, I liked that show.
And wasn't there Band-Aid as well, which was the same thing?
But not as good. Yeah.
Yeah, I liked them both.
And then John Stamos was in so many sitcoms over the years that they were trying to get him to be in everything. They were like, we could have him be in Dreams. Do you remember that show?
No, but I think I've heard of it.
It was him and Jamie Gertz in a band.
Oh, sure. Yep.
Yeah, it was basically like The Heights.
Yeah.
Remember that one?
Is great too.
We never learned how to talk to an angel.
No.
And then I'm guessing at 8:30 or 9:30 you went with the Baryshnikov.
I went with Baryshnikov.
Yeah.
My crush.
Yeah. You have to. This is the weirdest thing about this is he does comedy in it. So there's like sketches where he's doing like comedic sketches with Dom DeLuise, Shirley MacLaine, Bernadette Peters, Charles Nelson Riley.
Oh my God.
Gene Wilder. And here's the weirdest one, Orson Welles.
We did not deserve such goodness.
I know. Then. Orson Welles on a Baryshnikov in Hollywood comedy
There's
special.
not even time for dancing in that one.
No. But there was dancing. Thursday, 8 o'clock, what'd you go with?
Okay, I went with Magnum P.I. Now, I normally wouldn't watch it, but my Nana had a crush on Magnum.
Yeah.
And if she was over, or, sometimes she would stay over.
She would demand, would she be like, I have a crush on him, put it on.
Go, that,
Tom Selleck.
That's my mom's imitation. She's like that. Tom Selleck, that mustache, she loved him.
Grandmas love a mustache.
It's so funny because... my grandfather died before I met him. I think he had a tiny mustache, more Hitler stuff than Magnum P.I. But she loved a kind of guy that like her husband wasn't and that she never was with. But she also had a crush on Meathead.
Oh, weird.
She liked a chest hair mustache.
She likes a hairy guy.
But I never saw her with one though. Because that was an unfulfilled fantasy for Nana. So I would have watched Magnum with Nana.
Yep.
But not really cared myself.
Yeah, you would have just done it you would have been selfless.
Selfless for Nana.
And then at 8:30 you go with Mork and Mindy.
Oh my God. Speaking of hairy guys.
Mindy's jailed for contempt of court in this episode. Because she won't reveal a news source. I forgot that she was a reporter.
Oh, totally. Well, who cares what she does?
No one ever cared what she did. Yeah.
Robin Williams playing an alien.
She's married to an alien.
I bet he comes into the courtroom and does like an impassioned speech as her lawyer. Like, his acting was so good in that when you think about it. Like, that's where his tender moments acting skills came in.
There's some heavy episodes of that show. There's one, a Halloween.
So fantastic.
There's a Halloween one where she goes to her old house and her dad is dead. And
Why am I laughing?
Oh, it's ridiculous but Mork gets possessed by her dad, and she can have a conversation with him to say goodbye. So it's Robin Williams like playing this tender thing.
God, it's amazing.
It's really good. Then 9 o'clock, Diff'rent Strokes.
Diff'rent Strokes.
Yeah, yep.
Was always my dream. Just someone rich come get me.
I always wanted to be a little black boy. Yeah.
I always wanted to be a little black boy. Which is just so funny when I know this joke has been made, but if you just watch the theme song opening, it looks like a white guy is stealing two black kids off a basketball court.
Yeah.
He's just picking them up.
I used to like the show a lot more than I had Dan Savage on, and he went on a tear about how that show was the worst of everything because it represented everything in Reagan's America, where it was like only rich white men can help the blacks by buying them.
When you look back on stuff, you're like, oh, that's bad.
Yeah, yeah. But at the time, it seemed like a nice thing.
At the time, it seemed good and like inclusive.
Yeah.
But what did I know as a white kid from the suburbs?
We were all wrong.
And everyone's dead.
Yeah. And then 9:30, did you go Taxi or Give Me a Break? That's a tough call.
Well, I picked Taxi. Give Me a Break was a big favorite of mine, but Taxi has always been my favorite TV show of all time.
Taxi is fantastic and holds up so well. This is a Latka heavy episode where he has multiple identities. Always weakest. I like Coffin, but he was bad on Taxi. He took me out of the show.
For the guy that was like, I don't want to be on a sitcom, it's like, hey, dumb fuck, you were on the greatest sitcom of all time.
Yeah.
You were the one yucking it up, making it sitcom-y.
Yeah.
No one asked you to come in and go, ba-dee, ba-doo, ba-doo.
It was a great, just Judd Hirsch being sad. That's a great sitcom.
It's, I mean, it was you could just not even have a laugh for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But I think as a kid I liked it, but then I think later I was like, enough with this.
Yeah, it's too much. It's when any side character takes over.
So one note.
Yep. Give Me a Break that night.
So I would have switched to Give Me a Break probably.
You did a good thing there because the guest star, Danny Glover.
Oh.
Danny Glover's playing Bill on Give Me a Break.
Yeah, that's good.
Friday night, final night of the week.
Oh.
8 o'clock.
Friday nights always had sort of a malaise to me. Like, I know Sunday nights kids didn't like because you have to go to school the next day, but Sunday night had good TV. Friday night, I don't think the TV was that good. The TV always had a depressing vibe about it. So I picked That's Incredible. But sometimes that had a sort of creepy weirdness to it.
It would be like Deformed Kids or
It wasn't always like happy or incredible or like sci-fi. It was like, oh.
Born with a heart on his outside of his body.
Yes.
It was a lot of that, yeah. And now he defies the odds by not dying. This is segments about a wheelchair-bound Olympic gold medalist who became a collegiate swimmer and a stuntman who falls from a helicopter on a moving truck.
That one, all right, that one
I'm going to watch. And a show called Joke Book, a limited-run anthology series of animated features for adults by Hanna-Barbera.
Oh, that sounds
That sounds really weird. Very strange. 9 o'clock, would you go
And then
with
I
the
picked the ballet again. So much ballet on.
There's America at Play, which is a variety show. Yeah, and A Love for Dance, the Belgian choreographer ballet.
I would have watched any ballet. Friday nights I took ballet class and I got home at 7 and we would have pizza.
Yeah.
So that would have been like the perfect night. But just, that's sort of a depressing night.
Yeah.
Like it's a very quiet night in with your parents.
It's not a kicking off the weekend kind of night.
No, but you got to go to bed and just wake up for Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Yeah.
We discussed before we went on air.
Yeah,
that was
you
just,
have to.
have that to look forward to in the morning.
I, as an adult, hope that someday there'll be anything I look forward to as much as getting up on Saturday morning to watch cartoons.
I don't think that's going to happen. Unless are you interested in having children?
No.
Okay, because I was going to say you could do that.
And live through their eyes.
Children.
Yeah.
That's what someone said to me once. That was the best part about being an adult. I go, that sounds awful to me because you don't get to watch the same things you watched. And then also it's not, then you're taking care of them.
And if you show them the things you watch and they're like, this sucks, I hate you.
Yeah, then you're like, I hate my kids and I don't get to watch what I want.
Yeah, that's a lose-lose.
Yeah.
On that note, Jen.
Lose-lose
note. Thank you so much for doing this.
You're so welcome. This really depressed me about the current state of television, even though I know we're in a glory age.
Yeah, but we can revisit all these. It's easy to find them.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you're right. I'm going to actually binge watch everything we talked about.
Yeah.
So thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome.
Oh, baby, I see you in my TV set. Yeah, baby, I see you in my TV set. I cut your head off and put it in my TV set.
Jen Kirkman, absolutely wonderful. Check her out. She's always touring. She'll be coming to Boston in September, I think, the 20th. I'll put links up on tvguidancecounselor.com. She has an extensive touring schedule on her website as well. But definitely, if you have the means, go see her. If you haven't seen her live, absolutely see her. If you have seen her live, I don't need to tell you, go back. You'll want to already. You can see me live at sometimes. Just go to iCanRead.com and I have my dates there. I will also have any TV Guidance Counselor live dates up there. Hopefully be doing some more conventions soon or comedy festivals or things like that. You can email me at tvguidancecounselor@gmail.com or at ken@icanread.com. Go to our Facebook page. Just search TV Guidance Counselor. You can tweet at us at TV Guidance. And if you like the show, please rate and review it on iTunes. It is a huge help to getting the word out about the show. And I mean, it's such a good show. Why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you want people to know about it? What's wrong with you? I didn't mean to insinuate there was something wrong with you. There's something wrong with all of us. And there'll be something wrong with all of us again next week on a brand new edition of TV Guidance Counselor. So we'll see you then on Wednesday for a brand new episode.
And that's all I just came here to brag about. And I'm going to throw the mic down and leave.